So, sir, I take this opportunity to welcome you to this webinar on behalf of my honorable management, honorable principal Dr. Neena Seth Pajni ji, my worthy colleagues and dear students. Sir, our college is affiliated to Punjab University. Name of our college is Gobindgarh Public College, Award. It is affiliated to Punjab University, Chandigarh. And I welcome you, sir, to this webinar as you are going to deliver a very fruitful and knowledgeable talk over epigraphical presentation of history. And sir, I take this opportunity to read a brief CV of yours to our delegates. It is a great matter of pleasure for me to read the CV of such a knowledgeable person from Central University of Punjab, Bathinda. Dr. Ashwini Kumar is Assistant Professor of Department of History, Central University of Punjab, Bathinda. He is BA Honours from Government College of Men, Sector 11, Chandigarh. MA in Modern Indian History from Punjab University, Chandigarh. MA in Ancient Indian History, Culture and Archaeology from Punjab University, Chandigarh. PhD on economic life in northern India during the Kushana period from Punjab University, Chandigarh. He has total research experience of 8 years after completion of his PhD. His current areas of research are ancient Indian history, social and economic history, art, archaeology, epigraphy, numismatics. These are the areas of research of Dr. Saab. Teaching and work experience. He has worked prior to joining Central University of Punjab in various universities in various capacities. At present, as I have already told you, Dr. Saab is Assistant Professor in the Department of History, Central University of Punjab, Bathinda. He has also the additional charge of NSS officer in Central University of Punjab, Bathinda. In charge University Museum, Central University of Punjab, Bathinda. He also holds this office. He has also been conferred various awards and honors, College Color and Certificate of Merit, Government College of Men, Sector 11, Chandigarh. University Gold Medal for standing first in MA examination, Punjab University, Chandigarh. JRF University Grants Commission, New Delhi. He has also published various books, to name some of them. The Kushanas Revisited, a survey of the economic life of the Kushanas Empire, Delhi Commonwealth Publishers, 2014. He published this book in this year. After that, he has also published so many other books. And he has also contributed so many chapters to the edited books. The CV is so long that I get so much pleasure to read out the CV of Dr. Saab because he is such a knowledgeable and versatile personality that his CV is so much lengthy that it is really a matter of great happiness for me that I am reading the CV of such a great personality. Besides this, he has presented papers in national and international conferences, as well as he has published his papers in the Radford journals in the India as well as throughout the world. So Dr. Saab, I again welcome you to this online webinar which is being conducted by our college, Gobindgarh Public College. And we are so much happy to have you amongst us because I really want that our students would be getting a lot of knowledge through the topic which you have chosen today, significance of epigraphy in the reconstruction of history, reflections from early India. थोड़ा सा बच्चों के लिए मैं बता दूं कि एपिग्राफी क्या होती है। एपिग्राफी जो है, जो हमारे शिलालेख है, जो ट्रेडिशनल टाइप में हमारे शिलालेख होते थे, चाहे वो अशोकाज के टाइम में है, चाहे वो इंडस वैली सिविलाइजेशन के टाइम में, उनकी स्टडी जो है उसको हम एपिग्राफी बोलते हैं। डॉक्टर साहब ऐसे ही है? ऐसा है कि हमारे लिए ये बहुत एक अच्छा अवसर रहेगा कि डॉक्टर साहब जो है हमें इस विषय के ऊपर बहुत ही अच्छी तरह से हमारे बच्चों को, हमारे जो टीचर साहबान ज्वाइन किए हैं उनको बहुत अच्छे से बताएंगे कि व्हाट इज द इम्पोर्टेंस ऑफ एपिग्राफी So, sir, I again welcome you, and yes, sir, you please deliberate over this issue with your great knowledge and insights. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, Dr. Gopal. I'm really grateful to the institution, reputed institution, Govindgarh Public College, Alur Khanna, for giving me this opportunity to talk to you people, learned people, and particularly with the students, whom I find they have the potential of becoming a good citizen, a good academician in different fields. And I'm really grateful to the management of the college, and particularly Principal Dr. Neena Seth Panji to give me this opportunity to share my views. Ji sir. Okay. But I'm trying to speak. Okay. Am I audible now? Hello? Hello? Am I audible? Yes, sir. Can you listen to me? Am I audible, sir? हेलो
यस सर, आपकी आवाज आ रही है सर।
मेरी आवाज आ रही है। थैंक यू सो मच। आई एम रियली ग्रेटफुल टू द मैनेजमेंट ऑफ द कॉलेज टू गिविंग me this opportunity to talk to you people, learned people, academicians, and particularly the students whom I feel, as I have already told, but I think I was not audible at that time, that they're having the great potential to be a good academician, a big and citizens of India. And I'm really grateful to Principal Madam Dr. Neena Sethji Panji, the college management, Professor Gopal Krishanji, for inviting me to have a talk with you people on the theme. I have to be very brief now because the significance of epigraphy in the reconstruction of history, some reflections from early India. I want to share a slide through PPT to you people, if possible. Then, okay, I think the slide is visible now. Dr. Saab, is it visible? Okay.
Yes, it is visible, sir.
Okay, thank you so much. बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद मुझे बुलाने के लिए भी और अपने विचार आप लोगों के साथ साझा करने के लिए भी। As Dr. Gopal Krishan told me when I was talking to him that most of the students will be in either in Hindi or in Punjabi, I think, mediums. I think so. So I will try to make it in bilingual or in trilingual so that everybody can, particularly the student, can get it. The theme of the discussion is significance of epigraphy in the reconstruction of history, reflections from early India. Firstly, we will have to know the meaning of epigraphy. As Dr. Gopal Krishan earlier explained what epigraphy basically is. Epigraphy is the study of inscriptions, and the inscription literally means whatever is being engraved of any type of in the form of writing on some objects. The objects may vary from lithic or the stone to the metallic objects. कुछ भी जो लिखा होता है उकेरा होता है, actually the papers and all these things ये शायद पुराने जमाने में available नहीं थे. Of course we were having some bark leaves and these जो भोजपत्र वगैरह हुआ करते थे, but most of the times the rulers particularly or even the individuals, they used to engrave all these things, whatever they wanted to engrave, whatever they wanted to convey to the society or a particular fellow whom they are conveying this message. They used to convey through engraving on different objects. These may be from lithic to metallic objects, and objects on which these engravings were, जिस पे लिखा जाता था, बहुत सारे इसमें माध्यम थे. That was the rocks, stone pillars, earthen and wooden pillars, bricks, tablets, plates, pots, shells, ivory plaques, हाथी दांत के जो plaques होते हैं, many things are being engraved. Beautiful sculptures have been even engraved on them along with the inscriptions. लिखा जाता था. And apart from engraving, other materials like coin legends, सिक्कों पे आपने देखा होगा, nowadays we have Bharat, India or whatever is being written on the margins of the coins. Those are known the coin legends. सिक्कों पे जो लिखा जाता था. Along with that, we have coins and seals, wall paintings, etc. Though they are not engraved, but they are written actually, but we consider them in the category of the inscriptions, whatever is being inscribed or written. So this is epigraphy, means the written material or which is being engraved on certain objects. In India, we have epigraphic trends since this Harappan period, though that is not been deciphered till now. हमारी दुर्भाग्य ये है कि हड़प्पा वाला भी पढ़ा नहीं गया है, so we are not very sure what they were trying to convey or what their language was, what their script was. That appears to be pictographic, but exact meaning of that script is still to be deciphered. Unless we decipher them, we are not in a position to talk about much about that Harappan script or Harappan epigraphy. तो हड़प्पन की बात अभी हम नहीं कर पाएंगे क्योंकि हमारे पास सोर्सेज नहीं है वो सब बोलने के लिए. हमारे पास अभी वो फैसिलिटी नहीं है. We are not able to decipher that script. But the decipherment, study of this epigraphy, ये जो epigraphy है या जो एक लेख है, इनको पढ़ना लिखना, particularly इनको पढ़ना, that was during the British colonial period in the 19th century. For the first time, it was James Prinsep who used to, उसका एक आदत थी कि वो he has got these inscriptions engraved on the pillars, on the rocks, and some copper plates, etc. But he was unable to decipher, as were many of them. बहुत सारे लोग थे जो देखते थे कि कुछ तो लिखा है, something is being written on or engraved upon on this, पर ये है क्या, कुछ नहीं मालूम था. तो he used to make these cards and scattered them in front of him. So suddenly in 1837, he was able to make a sense. That was the Shabd Ma. It was a Ma of Ashokan Brahmi, written like 1/2. That he deciphered it or he read it as Ma or M, and he starts making sense. That word starts making sense, and ultimately he was able to read this epigraphy or the Ashokan Brahmi. अब ये पहला इंसिडेंट था 1837 में. एपिग्राफी इंपॉर्टेंट सोर्स है, particularly तब जब हमारे पास paucity of sources होती है. When we have the paucity of sources, when we do not have other supporting evidence to support these historical events, to put forward historical arguments, ऐसी स्थिति में एपिग्राफी plays a vital role in reconstruction of history. एपिग्राफी एक बहुत बड़ा साधन है इतिहास लिखने का, इतिहास के बारे में जानने का. So that was started in 1837 when James Prinsep was first able to decipher that script, Ashokan Brahmi. Slowly and gradually, now this Brahmi was being collected, photographs were taken, अलग-अलग जगह से photographs लाए गए, कहीं pillar से लाए गए, कहीं rock से लाए गए, कहीं copper plates लाए गए, which was a tradition. And now many institutions were established to decipher that Brahmi. The earliest one among, I have listed a few of them, there were many like that. That was the Journal of Asiatic Society, which was established in 1784. That started publishing these epigraphies. उन्होंने इकट्ठा किए, देखा, पढ़ा, उसको publish करना शुरू किया. Then the Indian Antiquary, a journal started by James Burgess, who was himself a great epigraphist in 1872, slightly before that Asiatic Society. Journal of Asiatic Society of London, Journal of Bombay branch of Royal Asiatic Society. They started publishing these epigraphy. उन्होंने लगा कि ये बड़े epoch making हो सकते हैं. These can be vital in reconstruction of history because there may be paucity, there may be some sort of जिसको हम कहते हैं कि बढ़ा चढ़ा करके बोल दिया गया है in the this literature, because literature is not written from the historical point of view. उसकी एक अपनी एक गरिमा होती है, अपने लिखने का तरीका होता है, अपने expressions होते हैं. So exaggerations are possible in those literary evidences. Though are possible in epigraphy also, पर फिर भी epigraphy is providing a support, providing a further argument or evidence or support to that literary evidence. Then these were in 1890, a specific exclusively dealing with epigraphy, a journal or an official journal, I should say, known as Epigraphia Indica, which still is there in publication, and it's one of the most pioneer work. Most of these pioneer historians or epigraphists, they publish in Epigraphia Indica. This is an official journal by Archaeological Director General of the Archaeological Survey of India, James Burgess. In 1890, he started this journal Epigraphia Indica to publish this epigraphy or inscriptions. लेखों को publish करते थे कि देखें कौन क्या बोल रहा है. That was very important. The government of Madras in South India, the annual report on South Indian epigraphy, that is somewhere around 1887, along with the Northern Indian epigraphic reports. And then we have a few eminent epigraphists which were instrumental during those days. बहुत सारे लोग काम करते थे, इंडियन भी थे, अंग्रेज भी थे, जर्मन्स भी थे. Many people were there who were working on this epigraphy. Those who had good knowledge of Sanskrit, वो इस पे काम करते थे, ब्राह्मी सीखते थे, पढ़ते थे, संस्कृत के विद्वान थे. A few of them you can see on the slide. प्रिंसप है, ब्यूलर है, हुल्श है, सनात है, किल्हन है, बानट है, बनर्जी है, भट्टाचार्य is there, भंडारकर is there, HP Shastri is there, Venkaiah is there, NG Majumdar is there. Many people are there, Indian as well as foreigners, who had initiated and who had started this work of deciphering and writing and publishing the epigraphy or the inscriptions. अब की significance पढ़े क्यों जाए? Epigraphy, why we should study epigraphy? जरूरत क्या है? What are the important informations provided by epigraphy so that we should read it? So we should work on epigraphy. पहला तो है the genealogy of the dynasty. हमने सुना होगा ये राजा था, वो राजा था, ऐसा राजा था, वैसा राजा था. But many of the literary sources, they do not contain much referencing towards this genealogical list. वो ज्यादा राजाओं की बात नहीं करते. Contemporary king, sometimes they mention, sometimes they do not mention. Classic example can be Raghuvansham of Kalidas. कालिदास ने रघुवंशम तो लिखा, पर रघुवंश में रघु कौन है ये एक बड़ा डिबेटेबल इशू छोड़ दिया. एंड किंग रघु लेटर वाज आइडेंटिफाइड विद हिज किंग चंद्रगुप्त सेकंड विक्रमादित्य. हालांकि ये दूसरे रघु की भी बात करते हैं जो रघु उनके राजा थे सूर्यवंशियों में. But this Raghu later was identified with Chandragupta II Vikramaditya. We do not know too much about Chandragupta II, Samudragupta, any of these kings through the literary evidences. Not too much. Obviously, there are many works on them, but not too much about them. But the inscription, they provide a great list of genealogies of the dynasty. पूरे वंश की वंशावली लिखी जाती थी. Most have this genealogy. I'll be talking about them when I will be sharing with you those epoch-making inscriptions from India. भारत में बहुत सारे लेख ऐसे हुए जिसमें पता चला कि अच्छा ऐसा भी था. बड़े इंटरेस्टिंग लेख है. But you will be going through those epigraphy, those epigraphs very soon. Second is the military exploits. कि जीतते कैसे थे, कहाँ जाते थे, क्या करते थे. Many edicts are there. कलिंग edict है, खारवेल का, अशोक का, जिसमें वो बोलता है कि he had conquered Kaling in the 8th year. I will be talking about that edict. Then Hathi Gumpa inscription of Kharvel. Kharvel एक राजा थे, उड़ीसा के राजा. बहुत बड़ा इंस्क्रिप्शन लिखा हाथी गुम्फा में. ये उड़ीसा में एक केव है जिसमें रॉक केव है, बनाया गया है. And elephant head has been cut in the rocks, and that rock bears the inscription of King Mahamegavan Kharvel. Kharvel ने अपनी जीतों के बारे में बताया कि what he has conquered. These are very important to integrate the state, to integrate the nation, to expand the state. These conquests sometimes are very fruitful, sometimes they are very bad for humanity, maybe. Then the Nasik cave inscription, जहाँ गौतमी बलश्री बोल रही है, she is a queen. I will be talking about her inscription later. Then the Junagadh rock inscription of Rudradaman, when he is talking about Yodhyas and many other people whom he had subdued. Then the Prayag Prashasti of Samudragupta, बहुत बड़ी inscription है जिससे काव्य on stone, पूरा का पूरा काव्य stone पे लिखा गया है. So these are very important informations which the inscriptions provide. राजा की जीत, जादा की जीत, उसके extent of empire, उसके territories under him, his integration of the state and nation for the cultural integration, that's very important. Then boundaries of the state, अशोक का लेख बड़े important sources हैं, examples हैं which say that this is the boundary of the state. क्योंकि आज हम अपने लेख श्रीलंका में नहीं लगा सकते. Government of India cannot put the hoardings in Sri Lanka or in Pakistan or in Nepal. Obviously, the government of India will be putting the hoardings विद इन इट्स ऑन टेरिटरी। ये बात तो बिल्कुल पक्की है। वैसा ही पुराने जमाने में भी था। लेख हमें ये अंदाजा देते हैं कि इस राजा का राज इस पर्टिकुलर टाइम में कितनी दूर तक ये राजा राज करता होगा, कौन कौन से लोग इसके पास रहे होंगे। दिस इज वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट सोर्स ऑफ इंफॉर्मेशन फॉर द बाउंड्रीज ऑफ द स्टेट और एक्सटेंट ऑफ द एम्पायर। वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट एंड वेरी सिग्निफिकेंट ऑल्सो, particularly when we talk about India as a nation, उस कंटेक्स्ट में ये इंफॉर्मेशन बड़ी वैलिड और बड़ी इंपॉर्टेंट हो जाती है। That becomes very important, very significant in that context. Then the contemporary kings, उनके साथ और कौन थे? Who were there when Ashok was ruling? Who were there when समुद्रगुप्त was ruling? ऐसा तो नहीं है कि समुद्रगुप्त और अशोक they were only one king or one of the few kings who were ruling there. ऐसा नहीं। When we see these inscriptions, literary sources do not talk about them. To some extent, coins can talk about them क्योंकि हमें सिक्के मिलते हैं, but literary sources they do not talk about all those kingdoms or rulers or all those people who were residing or those rulers who were ruling at that time. तो ये epigraphy बड़ा ही important supplement provide करता है for the literary evidences that who were ruling or who were the other people than the person who is issuing this inscription. बड़ा राजा है, issue inscription करेगा, obvious सी बात है, he has that authority, he has that power, he has something to propagate, propaganda कर सकता है, but important thing is he is also mentioning a few others who are not represented by themselves in their epigraphs or in literary sources or other sources. That's why epigraphy plays a vital role in reconstruction of the contemporary polity, society and economy. Then the administrative setup बड़ा interesting है. When we see the ancient Indian history, particularly the epigraphs or the epigraphy, बाकी पता शायद चले ना चले, we are not able to see. Literature may talk about that, literature may contain the sources of all these things, but epigraphy too provide important sources. 3 या 4 तरह की states थी, कम से कम 2 तरह की states है, monarchical states and republican states. Let me give you example. On the seals of Yodhya, these were rulers of central India. Rajas were ruling in Punjab and Haryana. की seals पे मिलता है योधे गणस्य जय, योधे नाम जय. योधे एक गण थे. योधे was not a राजतंत्र, that was a gun, that was a republic. मालव गणस्य जय, मालव नाम जय, once again they were a gun, they were a republican state that is provided by these on seals. छोटी inscriptions है but providing a vital information. एक शब्द में governance, what sort of the government system in it's particularly important है जो एपिग्राफी हमें बता रही है, बाकी कुछ नहीं बताती. हमें तो लगता है सिर्फ राजा ही राज करते हैं, ऐसा नहीं है. मैनी स्टेट्स, हम मल्ल की बात करते हैं, हम वजीज की बात कर सकते हैं, हम शाक्यों की बात कर सकते हैं जो वजी का ही पार्ट थे, हम योधियों की बात कर सकते हैं, हम मालव की बात कर सकते हैं. मैनी स्टेट्स आर देयर व्हिच वर नॉट मोनार्किकल स्टेट, जो राजतंत्र नहीं थे, वेयर पीपल वर रूलिंग देमसेल्व्स थ्रू देयर इलेक्टेड representatives. Very important information provided by that. Then a reflection of contemporary society. Literature बोलता है, but along with literature we get supplementary information from the epigraphy. For example, Varnashram Dharma, many sources are there. I can cite many epigraphs, many inscriptions. We talk about Varna. The king is to his younger brother or his son, he is going to the forests. That is being engraved on the inscriptions. The education prevalent among the masses. अशोक जगह जगह लगा रहा है. हम हिंदुस्तान में एजुकेशन सिस्टम नहीं, ऐसा नहीं है. You can go through these inscriptions, particularly if I talk about Ashokan inscriptions. ऐसी inscription लगाई है जो शहर से दूर है, जो बड़े कॉमर्शियल पॉइंट्स पे या दूसरे पॉइंट्स पे, जो बड़ी इंपॉर्टेंट पॉइंट्स पे है. इसलिए if he is putting लगाती गवर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडिया क्या लगाती है, ग्राम सड़क योजना, why and many other schemes which are propagated to the public through the hoardings, ताकि लोग देखें, पढ़ें और इसके बारे में जानकारी लेकर के दे कैन गेट एन आइडिया, दे कैन गेट दीज बेनिफिट्स. That was the case of Ashokan inscriptions. Particularly, I'm referring to Ashokan inscriptions. कि अशोक ने जगह जगह पे many places in India he has put inscriptions. Why? So that people can know his policies. He can put his orders or whatever he want to convey to the people. Through this, people, ordinary people whom he is literate enough, or the education system was there, they were literate to read these inscriptions. And he is addressing the common people. ऐसा नहीं है कि वो सिर्फ बड़े-बड़े लोगों को, बड़े-बड़े उपासक उपासिकाओं को या बड़े-बड़े विद्वानों को एड्रेस कर रहा है. He is addressing them through these inscriptions. Hence, it can be interpreted, it can be presumed. हम ऐसा अनुमान लगा सकते हैं कि उस टाइम में एजुकेशन सिस्टम जरूर रहा होगा. लिपि हमारे पास है, लैंग्वेज हमारे पास है. Then these inscriptions have been put in the public for their use. Then we can have the reflection, or we can have the idea of the economic conditions. Agriculture की बात होती है. Many a times agriculture, particularly the taxation system, many a times in many inscriptions taxation system is being revealed. Then the land revenue system, the land system, how many types of lands were there, that is mentioned in the inscriptions. किस तरह की जमीन होगी, किस जमीन पे कितना कर लगेगा, if it is very fertile, what will be the taxation share of the state, etc., etc. Then the ownership, etc. Because if one person is selling his land or one person is donating his land, individual or state, that shows the ownership of the land. State can donate the land because all the land belongs to the state. Individual is donating the land for any purpose. That shows he was having the ownership right over the land, and that donation is being recorded in the inscriptions. वो हो सकता है लिटरेरी एविडेंसेस में हमारे पास इतना पुख्ता सबूत ना मिले, possibly. But when we go through these epigraphic evidences, we are very sure that even the common people were having their rights over the lands. So trade industry, many things have been exhibited through epigraphic evidences. Then now I will be talking about some epoch-making inscriptions from early India. This is now the reflections from early India. कुछ एक inscription I have now chosen a few inscriptions. I will not be reading them word by word, ऐसा एक शब्द by शब्द नहीं, but these are really very important inscriptions. These provide a great source for the reconstruction of early India. I have chosen only a few. 8-10 inscriptions मैंने उठाई है. Why they are important? Sometimes inscriptions are as long as a kavya. Allahabad Prashasti is a classic example of that. Sometimes inscriptions are only of 2 lines. I will be talking about those inscriptions. Those लाइनों की inscriptions है, but they have a great bearing on the reconstruction of history. Let me start with, these are the Ashokan inscriptions, rock edicts. Many places, if you can see my cursor, you can see going right up to Karnataka, this Lumbini in Nepalese Trai, then you can see this Shabazgadi, then Kandhar. In central India we have many inscriptions. Then in northern India, then in northwestern India, Deccan में जहाँ गुजरात में देखते हो, गिरनार में है, महाराष्ट्र में है, ओडिशा में है. Many means all these regions appear to be under Ashok. तो जो भारतवर्ष की हम कल्पना करते हैं, India as a nation, we can see here. Ashok inscription में बताता है. So this is, I will be talking about 2 inscriptions of Ashok or 3 inscriptions of Ashok here. Very important. ये अशोक का edict है, 13वां edict. Rock edict 13 of Ashok. What is the significance of this edict? ये ऐसा नहीं कि उसने लिख लिया कि हाँ जी मुझे बड़ा, but this is the edict which changed the life of Ashok and which changed the fate of India. जिसने भारत की तकदीर बदल के रख दी, जिसने भारत का एक तस्वीर बदल के रख दी, जिसने भारत का एक आईना बिल्कुल totally change कर दिया. Why so? Because this has set a standard for the future kings, which he will be claiming in the last of this inscription. वो बोलता है कि मैं ये inscription सिर्फ इसलिए नहीं कर रहा हूँ कि मुझे करना है, but I expect my successors and even the future kings, they will be following these policies. Now inscription है क्या? What is Rock Edict 13 of Ashok? Why it is epoch making? Because Ashok is issuing the inscription in the 8th year. जब उसको 8 साल राज करते हो गए, 8 साल के बाद अशोक को लगा कि जब उसने कलिंग को जीतना है, कलिंग इज मॉडर्न ओडिशा, So he started that campaign of conquest of Kalinga. It is said that thousands of people were wounded, and many children became orphan, many ladies became widow, etc., etc. अब वो बोलता है कि when देवनाम प्रिय प्रियदर्शी जब ये देखता है, this is the epithet or title used by Ashok. Now see the change in this in his policy. He says कि जब मैं देखता हूँ, I feel very sad that many people were killed, many were slain, many were deported, many died out of that, and he is zealous of morality. Now he says he has changed his attitude. अब एक ऐसा चेंज है जो पूरी इंडियन हिस्ट्री को इम्पैक्ट करने वाला है. Now the notion or this idea of the welfare state, which I shall be talking about in the next inscription, will be coming from this particular evidence. The Rock Edict 13 is declared officially. I am thinking this. ये राजा का बहुत confession है, which he is seeking now. ये confession कर रहा है मुझसे गलती हुई है. Now I want to improve this mistake. I want to make up for that. And he is talking through inscription to his people. He is feeling very sorry. He is feeling very painful now, very deplorable now. But now, for the slaughter of people, for the slaying them, for the deaths, for the children becoming orphans, etc., etc. Now he says, now what we should do? Now he is setting a code of ethics or morality now. अब वो कहता है कि ऐसा नहीं करना है. We should refrain from the war. वो बार-बार बात करता है कि युद्ध से नहीं जीतना है, धर्म से जीतना है. युद्ध घोष नहीं करना है, धर्म घोष करना है. We should have a policy of tolerance. We should have a policy of righteousness as a king or as a state. यहाँ बोलता. Now he is saying that he is feeling very painful, very deplorable. Now he says Brahmanas, Shramanas, other sects, householders, everybody, and those obedience to those, particularly the father, mother, friends, acquaintances, companions, relatives, slaves, servants, all these people should be loved now. They should not be punished, or we should not deal with them with cruelty. अब एक राजा का concern है. He is even now very concerned about the cruelty. What to talk about the death and all these things. And this he will be bringing in his policies later. अपने policies में लेकर के आएगा. This is his confession. Now he says that whatever the peoples do wrong, they should be forgiven. Very interesting. He talks about those people who are living in the forest. वो कहता है कि आप बात मेरी मान जाइए. Now start behaving in a very polite manner. Otherwise, I can punish you. But I expect that you should be behaving in a very polite manner. Be दूसरों के प्रति हमें अच्छा बन के रहना है या उनके प्रति सेवा भाव रखना है, which he shall be talking. Then important information he gives. One is this one: change in his attitude towards the people, change in his policy of war. Now he's talking about dharma ghosh. He's talking about conquest through righteousness. He is himself confessing that I have done this wrong. ये एक बड़ा confession था जो usually king नहीं करते हैं. Only the king of a stature of Ashok could confess this. अगर गलती की है तो उसका confession करता है, apology seek करता है. Then he talks, he promises that it will not be done in the future. और वो expect करता है. Now what he is saying that I am doing this not for me, but for my this policy of righteousness, policy of morality, ethics should be followed by my neighbors. He is mentioning his neighbor. Very important information. Who were the contemporaries of Ashok, even beyond India. He is talking about Indo-Greek, Thoramaya, Mag, Antiochus, Alexander is there, Magas is there, Antiochus is there, Antigone is there. Then he talks about some Indian states, Cholas who were in Tamil Nadu, then Pandyas who were in once again in same region. Then a few other rulers, Kambojas are there, Bhojas are there, Andhras in this Andhra Pradesh region. He is talking about them, that these are my neighbors who should follow this policy of righteousness, morality, etc. Now he is moralizing. वो अपने आप भी moral हो रहा है, दूसरों को भी moralize करने की कोशिश करता है. Then he talks about all these things, that it should be the real conquest. If we can conquest through righteousness, we should follow the policy of morality, ethic, and concern towards others. ये एक बहुत बड़ा confession है, apology है, and a changing policy of Ashok can be exhibited through Rock Edict 13 with the information of the conquest of Kalinga, as well as information regarding the contemporaries of Ashok. Very important information which changed the life of Ashok and fate of India. Then the another epigraph I talk about here is a very significant, very important inscription. I'll be going through very fast this inscription. Ashokan inscription, pillar edict number 7, a reflection of moral and welfare state. बार बार बोलता है कि now we should have this moral state. The man might be made to progress by promotion of morality. He's expecting and he's preaching this morality. He talks about what morality is. Morality hai kya? And what he can do for morality. He is talking about all these things here. He said, I shall issue proclamations on morality. I expect this from the people, and I am also following the policy of the morality, etc. He's once again is talking about manifold instructions to people that they should follow this policy. He's instructing his officers, Lajukas, Mahamatras. These are the system of the governance now who have been appointed for that we should have a moral and welfare state. Now see, this concept of welfare state appears to be very new. हमें ऐसा लगता है कि ये वेस्टर्न कंसेप्ट है, यहाँ आया होगा, किसी ने बोला होगा कि वेलफेयर स्टेट हो सकती है, होनी चाहिए, और जो हम आज के कंटेक्स्ट में भी बात करते हैं, टुडे वी हैव द वेलफेयर स्टेट्स. बट दिस वेलफेयर स्टेट, इफ वी सी द जेनेसिस ऑफ द वेलफेयर स्टेट, वी हैव आवर ओन सिस्टम ऑफ वेलफेयर स्टेट. हमें वेलफेयर की बात पता है, हमें मॉरलिटी की बात भी पता है. द थिंग इज दैट वी शुड elaborate talking about morality on the part of the king, of the people. वो एडवोकेट भी करता है, प्रीच भी करता है, ऑर्डर एंड ऑर्डिनेंसेस ही इज इशूइंग टू मॉरलाइज द पीपल, टू मॉरलाइज द ऑफिसर्स, टू मॉरलाइज द स्टेट, एंड ही इज एक्सपेक्टिंग फ्रॉम द पीपल टू बी ethical and moral in their behavior and in their actions. He talks about appointment of many officers there who shall be looking after this morality. He is talking about issuing of proclamations, orders, etc. on the part of the king. Then he talks about welfare state. ये तो है ही है. Then banyan trees, mango trees. Then he shall be talking about herbs, plants, medicinal herbs, which he will be planting at regular interval. He will be talking about 8 course well. At 8 course wells will be caused to die. कि कोई भी प्रॉब्लम किसी आदमी को ना आए. Even for the cattle here, इंसान तो छोड़ो, even for the cattle, he is talking about all these things. He is talking about plantation of the plants, of these herbal plants. Wherever they are not grown, they will be somewhere else and they will be planted there so that everybody can get the he is issuing inscriptions of Mahamatra, beneficial to assets to the holders. They are with all. Everybody should be doing it. Not only the officers, not only the king, householders, and even the ascetics. Even the ascetics, whosoever they are, to which everybody should be behaving in a ethical way. We should be working for the welfare of the people, common man. Very important inscription है. Along with this, we have a few other inscriptions which are talking about the welfare state. कि राजा को कैसी स्टेट होनी चाहिए, लोगों का बिहेवियर कैसा हो, राजा का बिहेवियर कैसा हो, what act we should do or we can do for the welfare of the society and people. Once again, he is talking about all these things there. बार बार बोलता है ब्राह्मण है, श्रमण है, and those householders, father, mother, they respected. There should be a compassionate behavior, liberality, truthfulness, purity, gentleness, goodness, and talking about many steps to be taken by the officers as well as the government to the welfare of the society, to the welfare of the people. I shall be now moving towards another edict, epoch making. Very important inscription here. I'm talking about different types of sources and informations which we can collect to reconstruct the history. कि हम तरह तरह की इंफॉर्मेशन लेके आए. कभी कभी inscriptions are very small. They appear very small, but they have a lot of meaning to convey. Or we can get a lot of information for the reconstruction of history. Religious history, social history, economic history, political history. Many types of histories can be written on the basis of these inscriptions. So one of them is Rumindai pillar inscription. Though it's a very small inscription, you can see the inscription Ashokan Brahmi here. Devanam Pridashi is talking about this. Lajana Visala. Okay, this is written there over there. translation of the inscription is, बहुत छोटा inscription है, but बड़ा important है. He says, when King Devanam Priyapridarshan had been anointed 20 years. Now he has been ruling since last 20 years. Means if he sat on the throne in 267 or 8, the inscription is of somewhere around 248 BCE. आज से 2200 साल पहले एक राजा ये बात कर रहा है. Very fascinating. हम लोग कहाँ बैठे हैं, हमें ऐसा लगता है सब अंग्रेजों ने शुरू किया, ऐसा नहीं है. We have all these systems with us, we have all these informations with us. The thing is, we should know about them and we should talk about them. He says, after 20 years of my appointment or when I was anointed as king, he came himself and worshipped this spot, this particular area, Rumindei, because the Shakyamuni Buddha was born here. He both caused to be made a stone bearing a horse and caused the stone pillar to be set up. In the memory of that, he has set up a stone pillar and a stone horse, in order to show that the blessed one was born here, means Lord Buddha was born here. He made the village of Lumbini, now very important, free of taxes and paying only 1/8 share of the produce. Very important information regarding the king, regarding the regnal year 20, regarding the region which was under him. Rumindei is in Nepalese Trai. Nepal mein hai, Nepal ki Trai mein hai. In the Nepalese Trai, Ashok was ruling in his regnal year 20. Very important political information. One thing. Geographical information. Rumindei is in his rule. Then he says this particular place is birthplace of revered one or the blessed one or the Buddha. Very important. Context mein, religion ke context mein, this is a very significant information which he is providing through the epigraphic evidences. That this revered one was born here, and that's why I am visiting this place. I am visiting this place to pay homage to Lord Buddha, to pay homage to the birthplace of that Buddha. Now, third information is economic, for the economic importance. He is talking about the village of Lumbini, considered to be the smallest unit. Very important. Gram जो सबसे छोटी unit थी administration कर रहा है village को. Then he says village people, he is reducing the taxes now. Not information of the taxes is being given there. वो भाग की बात करता है, share की बात करता है. Now they should be exempted from the taxes. Now only 1/8 of the produce, 1/8 of the share, which was much more. Now they will be paying only 1/8 because they have been exempt from taxes now. Exemption from the taxes, taxation system. The village people, village as a administrative unit. Land of Shakyamuni Buddha, that is the religious information. His personal information is political one. So political, religious and economic information is being given by Ashok in this inscription of 4.5 lines. Very significant from the historical point of view. Choti hai but badi significant hai. It throws a welcome light on various aspects of that time period. Very epoch-making, very important information. Then another inscription here can be the next inscription is hanged now somehow. Okay. Next is Ayodhya inscription of Dhandev. छोटी सी inscription है, bearing only 2 lines. Kausala Dipen Dvirashmedi Ajina Senapate Pushyamitrasya Sungen Shashten Kaushiki Putren Dhandevin Dharmaragya Pitruphalgadevasya Ketanam Karitam. So this is the inscription only of 2 lines, but having a significant bearing or having a significant information in this inscription. It states Kausala Dipen Dvirashmedi Ajina. He is the ruler of Kaushal, modern Ayodhya, Saket region. Dvir Ashwamedh Yajna, who has performed 2 Ashwamedh sacrifices. Senapate, who was a commander-in-chief, now his position also, Pushyamitra Shungasya Shashthen. He is Pushyamitra Shung, who was the ruler of Kaushal, who was performer of 2 horse sacrifices, and he was a commander-in-chief of the Mauryas. Maurya ke commander-in-chief the. Shashthen, he is 6th in the generation. Now the person who is issuing inscription is 6th in the line. Means छठे नंबर का वो है, छठे नंबर का वो राजा है. He is 6th in the generation. Kaushiki Putra. Now his himself information of the person issuing the inscription. Kaushiki Putra Dhandeve. His name is Dhandev. Kaushiki is the name of his mother. ये बड़े जेंडर पे इंफॉर्मेशन दे रहा है. मदर नेम इज बीइंग मेंशन्ड हियर वेरी स्पेसिफिकली. कौशिकी पुत्रेण धनदेवेन धर्मराज्ञा पितु फल्गुदेवस्य केतनम कार्य. He is installing this flag, installing this pillar in the sacred memory of his father Falgudev. Now the ruler who is issuing inscription is Dhandev. Dhandev is son of Falgudev and Kaushiki, mother and father. He is the 6th in generation of Pushyamitra Shung, who was the ruler of Saket and who is performer of 2 horse sacrifices. ये हमें लिटरेरी एविडेंस में भी मिलता है. पुष्यमित्र शुंग ने हॉर्स सैक्रिफाइसेस किए थे और पतंजलि वाज ऑफिशिएटिंग प्रीस्ट ऑफ वन ऑफ देम. महर्षि पतंजलि ने एक को ऑफिशिएट किया था. सो दिस वी गेट फ्रॉम द लिटरेचर. ये हमें गार्गी संहिता से इसका रेफरेंस मिलता है कि दैट ही वाज परफॉर्मर ऑफ दिस सैक्रिफाइसेस. और एक और पुराण से भी मिलता है. दिस इंस्क्रिप्शन कैरीज अ लॉट ऑफ इंफॉर्मेशन रिगार्डिंग द रीजन, regarding the ruler, regarding the dynasty and regarding the gender. Mother is specifically mentioned here. Very information, very important information just in 2 lines. Dhandev, Ayodhya inscription of Dhandev. So एक 2 line inscription that is throwing light on various aspects of polity, society and all this and religion. हिंदुइज्म है तभी तो वो अश्वमेध सैक्रिफाइस कर रहा है. Another inscription is Vesnagar Garud pillar inscription of Heliodorus. Very small inscription. Dev Vasudev Garadwaje Ayam Karite Yam Heliodoren Bhagavaten Diyas Putren Nakhalisa Ken Yon Duten Agaten Maharaja Sab Antyal Kis Tas Upata Sakaru Jokasi Putra Bhagabhadra Trataras Vasen Chatudasen Rajen Vadamanas. Means he is talking about the Garud pillar of God of gods, Devas, God of gods, Vasudev, by Bhagavat Heliodorus. Very interesting information. Heliodorus is a Yavan, Greek. He is not Indian. The name suggests, but he is writing himself as Bhagavat, who is devout of Lord Vishnu or Lord Krishna. Takshila. Now the person who is Heliodorus is resident of Takshila, who came as a Yavan ambassador in the court of King Antialkidas in the court of Bhagavad. Bhagavad is once again belonging to the same dynasty of Pushyamitra Shung, son of Kashi in the 14th year. In the 14th year of Bhagavad, this Heliodorus is coming from Takshashila in Pakistan to the court of King Bhagavad and installing that Garud Dhwaj there in the memory of or in appreciation of Vasudev, whom he says he is himself a Bhagavat now. 2-3 informations बड़ी important है. Popularity of Bhagavatism in Central India, though is supposed to be started to have started somewhere in Mathura. But first century BC. Bhagavad is very well flourishing in different parts of India. Even the foreigners who are in the court of Bhagavad, they are claiming to be the devout Vaishnavites. Very important information politically. Who is the ruler is Bhagabhadra, who is ruling this region, Vidisha region, Central India. Sanchi, Vidisha, Madhya Pradesh region is ruled by the king from Bhagabhadra. Vidisha was under their control. Second thing, in Takshashila, Yavan king. Ambassador ka, that is been from this. Chote inscription hai, but having various aspects to study. He is coming there, he is installing with Ye Garud Dhwaj hai. This is the pillar installed, erected by Heliodorus. That he is a devout Vaishnavite and for appreciation of his God, he is getting this pillar constructed and installing the Garud Dhwaj over there. Religious information, political information, and information of the exchange of the ambassadors. Very important inscription from the point of view of historical reconstruction. छोटी inscription है, but बड़ी valuable inscription है. Then is the Rabatak inscription. Magnanimous inscription only on a stone slab. छोटा सा stone slab है. Importance देखिए inscription की. It is on merely of 23-24 lines. 23-24 लाइन की inscription बहुत बड़ी नहीं है. But this inscription, which was deciphered in 1990, recently, बहुत सब time नहीं हुआ है. Up to 1993, generally the scholars working on the Kushan history, they used to presume that there are two houses of the Kushans. Kushan राजा थे जो चाइना से आए थे. They started ruling India somewhere around 1st century of Common Era, and they ruled for substantially big time period for more than 100 and 150 years, somewhere around that. They were having two houses. One is ruling in Mathura, Kaushambi region in India. Another is ruling in Takshila region in Pakistan. Firozpur, Peshawar as their capital. So two capitals are there, two houses of the Kushans are there. It was generally considered because the rulers who were ruling in Pakistan region, they were having surname as Kadphises, Kujul Kadphises, Vim Kadphises, etc., etc. But the ruler who were ruling in Mathura, they were Kanishk and his successors. अब ये दो houses का more than 100 years. This was the theory propagated, propounded, and studied by the scholars that they were having two houses. Now, in 1993, an inscription was being discovered by fellows who were working, who were seeking for the treasure. उनको मिली the whole history of 100 years. About his family, he is mentioning Kujul Kadphises as his great grandfather, Vim Takto or Sadashkan as his grandfather, Vim Kadphises as his father, and he himself, means belonging to the same house. So this history of 100 years was changed by merely an inscription of 22-23 lines within 1 year. Total change, epoch-making inscription in Indian history. A great inscription, great epigraph, the whole history of the Kushans, which was being written since 100 years. अगली बात करें, that is Allahabad rural apart from that, ये तो information है ही है. About his contemporaries who are not Indian, he says Devputra Shahi, Shahanu Shahi, Shakmurun submitted by saying Atmanivedan, Kanyopayan Dan, Garudamat Ank Swavishay Bhukti Yachana, means they are submitting to the might of Samudragupta. They are willing to be in his court, to be present in his court. They are willing to give their daughters in the marriage in Gupta family, but they should be allowed to rule their territories. Very interesting information. And this information testifies the statement in Vayu Puran which says Anuganga Pragam Saketa Pragam cha Saketa Magdham Stata Etan Sarvan Janpadan Bhokshante Gupta Vansaja. Means all these regions are being ruled by the Gupta family or the descendants of Gupta family. ये वायु पुराण की इंफॉर्मेशन को टेस्टिफाई करता है अलाहाबाद और प्रयाग प्रशस्ति ऑफ समुद्रगुप्त, which was in Allahabad or Prayag or Kaushambi region being installed by Samudragupta. Very important information है, not only providing the data regarding Indian rulers, rather various other informations can be retrieved from these inscriptions. Then is Mehrauli iron pillar inscription. We can talk about another epoch-making inscription issued by King Chandra, who is later identified by the scholars with Chandragupta II Vikramaditya of the Gupta dynasty. 2 or 3 important informations which inscriptions gives, otherwise it is written in the same pattern, but 2 or 3 inscriptions is, one is there was a theory that the Guptas from Bengal and Bengal should be considered original home. It says Wang was the first confederacy which was, or the first was being defeated by Chandragupta II. So Bengal se to hame should have started from Bengal. Was ruled by some other people who were being conquered by Chandragupta II Vikramaditya. Second information is that very few rulers in India except these Cholas and a few others who have crossed the Indian borders and Ashok is talking about, but he is talking in the friendly relations. But he here says after Saptamukhani, Tatse Sindhu Saptamukhani, he's talking about all these things, that he is crossing 7 mouths of river Indus, Sindhu. Then he conquered the Vahalikas. The Bactrians were being conquered by him. Important information. Very rarely we see this. Then the third information which I will try like to cite here is Garuda Dhwaj of God Vishnu is being erected by Chandragupta II Vikramaditya. It shows his religious inclination, that he is a devout of Lord Vishnu. That's why in the sacred memory, or that's why in respect for Lord Vishnu, he is installing this Garuda Dhwaj. Very small inscription. Second aspect is the science and technology. See, this pillar has been there, freestanding pillar in Delhi. Now it is in Delhi for last 1600 years. The pillar is intact. The polish surprisingly is intact. आज का लोहा तो 2 साल नहीं चल पाता. We have to paint it time and again. But see this technology, किस technique से बना है, and see the polish which is still intact, which is facing, the pillar is facing the heat, scorching heat of Delhi, chilling winter of Delhi, maybe the acid rains also. But the polish is still intact. Very important technological information from this pillar. Now I'm trying to wind it up. A whole inscription, very important. Reference from this inscription can be, I'm going very fast now, I'll sum up in a few minutes. That is issued by Pulakeshin II, who is a Chalukyan prince. Badami ke Chalukyan prince hai. He is claiming to be a Jain by faith, religious information. Then he talks about killing his uncle, which is a war for succession. Then he is talking about defeat of Harsh, though not very clearly referring here, but Harshvardhan, if he is the same person who or Hyun Sang is stating. Very important, otherwise we do not know whether there was a fight between them. But ये inscription बता रही है कि there was a fight and defeated. Most important information I get from here is regarding Bharat War. He says 3,735 years have passed after the Bharat War when he is issuing this inscription. Now this is Mahabharat War. If we calculate it, the inscription was issued somewhere around 633-34 CE when Pulakeshin was ruling. He was a contemporary of Harshvardhan, and the time period of Harshvardhan is 606 to 647. So the time period of issuing of this inscription, somewhere around that, if we reduce it from here, it will be 3102 or 1, which is now many scholars are believing that this is the date of Mahabharat War. So this can push the date of Bharat war back, and the Aryan migration theory can be reconsidered. Very important, very epoch-making inscription. Once again. Now we have Uttira Mero inscription of Prantak first. अगर आपने कभी local self government की बात किया होगा, डॉक्टर साहब, तो local self government generally we talk about Lord Ripon, 1882. But this is not the first case in India. Prantak first in somewhere around 920-21 CE. He was the Chol emperor of Tamil Nadu. He has issued an inscription, Uttara Merur, ये वैकुंठ पेरुमल temple है, उसमें ये walls पे inscription, you can see the inscription on the walls. Very interesting inscription about electing the people for the village Sabha, Gram Sabha, Sabha Mahasabha. He has talked about all the procedures which should be followed while you are conducting the election. General Assembly meeting कैसे होगा, elections कैसे होंगे, what will be the qualification? Very interesting. What will be the essential qualification, age limit, possession of immovable property, minimum educational qualification for contesting the elections. He is here talking about village was divided, one representative in some specific qualification prescribed for those who wanted to contest the elections. And the whole affairs of the village will be looked after by these committees. Different committees are there. So these are the qualifications which are being mentioned very very elaborately in this inscription. Or disqualification, on what grounds the candidates can be disqualified. Ab ye 1000 years back, all these are with us. Then what will be the mode of action? That is also being talked about here. Election kaise hoga? They will be writing the names, putting it in a pot. Then a young man will be coming. He will be taking off these pots. He will be taking off these names, and these will be read by him, read by the priests inside the temple. Then that person will be declared that he is elected for this particular seat. So this will be the constitution of the committee. Duration will be 1 year. For more than 3 years, you cannot be a member. Maximum time was 3 years. He can be removed if he is found guilty. Now the whole affairs of the state and village, particularly village, which is the smallest unit of administration, will be looked after by the committee and council. Now two last inscriptions. I will take only 1 or 2 minutes, Dr. Sahab. These are the inscriptions of inscriptions issued by women rulers. So here I have put these inscriptions by women, a question of gender equality or empowerment. I'm not saying that this is equality empowerment. मैं ऐसा claim नहीं कर रहा हूँ, but definitely the issuers of the inscriptions are women rulers. One is Prabhavati Gupta, the Vakata queen, queen of deceased Rudra Sen, who is the daughter of Chandragupta II Vikramaditya, belonging to the Gupta family. The mother name is being mentioned here, who is belonging to the Dharan Gotra. And the whole inscription talks about the Gupta genealogy also. Very interesting. And she is issuing this inscription with various rights and authority and power. Second inscription here is, I'm not going to in the details of these inscriptions. Second is Nasik cave inscription of Gautami Balshri, the Satvahan queen. Husband is dead now, but her son is ruling. But she is issuing this inscription in Nasik cave. उसमें inscription number 3 है ये, and this is the inscription which talks about Gautami Balshri also, and that the great queen, mother of a Maharaj and a grandmother of a Maharaj, is issuing this inscription, and she is donating the land for the monks. Once again, this throws a welcome light on the women condition, though they were the queens. मैं ऐसा मान सकता हूँ. I'm not talking about the common women. We get common women inscription by common women in great variety and number. In Mathura, in Bharhut, Central India, individual donors, they have written inscriptions on various pillars or these slabs, or maybe on some sculptures which they were donating. We get a lot of information. So I am summing here up. Thank you very much. That we get a lot of information for the reconstruction of history from the various viewpoints, aspects, socio-economic, political, and various other aspects from the inscriptions. And inscriptions should be taken very seriously for the study of history and for the study of reconstruction of history. I once again thank you very much, sir, for giving me this opportunity to talk to people and share my views regarding the importance of inscription in the reconstruction of history. Thank you very much, sir. Now it is over to you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. It seems that you have taken us to a virtual tour throughout India, not only in India, but also to the world. You have shown in a very, very versatile way that how the inscriptions in various historical places and what role they played during the prevalent era of that very contemporary scenario. So we are, sir, so much thankful to you that you provided so much insights into the topic that I was so engrossed that throughout your lecture I was so much happy and was gaining a lot of knowledge. I hope all our delegates were getting the same, because your lecture was so much good, that it was so much elaborated, that it was so much knowledgeable. I have gained so much from this lecture, sir. Sir, I thank you from the core of my heart. Now, we do have one more part of this webinar, that is a question answer round. If any of our participants want to ask any question from Dr. Saab, it is more than welcome. Any of you, the floor is open to the participants. I give you, please ask if anyone wants to ask someone, please.
I would like to have the questions particularly from the students, because they are very curious and they should have these questions. मैं students को बड़ा encourage करूँगा कि if they have the questions, irrespective of the language का barrier नहीं है, they can ask in Punjabi or Hindi or any other language. I am comfortable with all these languages. आप पूछिए सवाल बच्चों से, particularly the students. I appreciate if they ask the questions.
किसी भी तरह का कोई सवाल अगर आप डॉक्टर साहब से पूछना चाहते हैं तो you are more than welcome. अपना माइक अनम्यूट कीजिए और सवाल पूछिए. बहुत से बच्चे मैं यहाँ पे देख रहा हूँ जिन्होंने ज्वाइन किया हुआ है.
सर वो आपको भी मैसेज कर सकते हैं सवाल अगर उनके हैं तो they can message it to you and you can read the message to me, no problem.
Yes, बट अगर चैट बॉक्स में लिखना है तो चैट बॉक्स में भी लिख सकते हैं. गरिमा, अगर कुछ सवाल पूछना चाहते हैं सर से तो पूछ सकते हैं. यहाँ पे गरिमा है, करमजीत कौर है, कृष्णा कुमारी है, नवजोत कौर है, ऑल दीज माय स्टूडेंट्स। हाँ बेटा, किसी तरह का कोई सवाल है आप पूछना चाहते हैं, या हमारे टीचर्स है बहुत से ज्वाइन किया जिन्होंने किसी तरह का बेटे कोई एपिग्राफी के बारे में कोई क्वेश्चन है तो पूछ सकते हैं।
और सबसे बड़ी बात है, एपिग्राफी प्रोवाइड्स अ वेरी वाइटल स्कोप फॉर रिसर्च। बहुत बड़ा स्कोप है, अभी एपिग्राफी ज्यादा स्टडी इंडिया में हुआ नहीं है।
डॉक्टर साहब, मुझे लगता है आपने इतनी नॉलेज दे दी है कि बच्चों के पास कुछ पूछने के लिए रह ही नहीं गया है।
इट मे बी अदरवाइज।
तो अभी ऐसा है, मैं थोड़ा सा मैं क्वेश्चन तो नहीं पूछ सकता, आई एम नॉट स्टूडेंट ऑफ हिस्ट्री, तो मैं साइंस का स्टूडेंट हूँ। मैं एक थोड़ा सा आपसे, कुछ बच्चों ने पूछा है, पहले इनका हम रिप्लाई कर दें। देखिए डॉक्टर साहब जरा चैट बॉक्स में, उसके बाद हम अपनी बातचीत करते हैं।
आप पढ़ के बताइए मुझे क्या है क्वेश्चन। ये मेरे यहाँ पे पता नहीं बिट प्रॉब्लम में बी देयर। प्लीज इफ यू कैन रीड द क्वेश्चन फॉर मी। एक तो आई एम नॉट यूज्ड टू दिस प्लेटफॉर्म।
ओके ओके, नो क्वेश्चन। I think no one has questions. Some notifications appeared from WebEx over here.
One question I could see was in which language the inscriptions are being written. Language, particularly we have most of them are in Sanskrit, and but in the early inscriptions of Ashok they are in Prakrit. शुरू की इंस्क्रिप्शन जो अशोकन इंस्क्रिप्शन है वे प्राकृत के इंस्क्रिप्शंस हैं। तो बाकी इंस्क्रिप्शन उसके बाद सेकंड थर्ड सेंचुरी के बाद हमारे पास मोस्ट ऑफ द इंस्क्रिप्शन दे कम इन संस्कृत। आई एम नॉट टॉकिंग अबाउट द रीजनल स्टेट्स, उनकी बात मैं नहीं कर रहा हूं। द इंस्क्रिप्शंस व्हिच आई एम टॉकिंग हियर एंड व्हिच आई हैव टॉक्ड अबाउट, ऑब्वियसली देयर विल बी इन केरल, देयर विल बी इन मलयालम, देयर विल बी इन तमिल आल्सो इन साउथ इंडिया, बट मोस्ट ऑफ दीज इंस्क्रिप्शंस व्हिच आर इन नॉर्दर्न इंडिया दे आर इन संस्कृत फर्स्ट सेकंड सेंचुरी ऑनवर्ड्स। फर्स्ट सेकंड सेंचुरी ऑनवर्ड। आपने धनदेव की इंस्क्रिप्शन देखी, वो फर्स्ट सेंचुरी की थी, दैट वाज इन संस्कृत।
यस डॉक्टर साहब। अच्छा डॉक्टर साहब, मैं थोड़ा सा आपके साथ थोड़ा सा डायलॉग करना चाहता हूँ इस बात के ऊपर, क्योंकि वेलफेयर स्टेट की आपने बात की है। तो
जी 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 जी।
वेलफेयर स्टेट, एंशिएंट टाइम्स में भी इट वाज टॉक्ड अबाउट दैट देयर शुड बी अ वेलफेयर स्टेट एंड वेलफेयर एक्टिविटी शुड अकर फॉर द सिटीजंस। इवन इफ वी गो टू द ग्रीक, they limited the citizenship to a very confined class of people. So when in the modern democracy with large populations, I think the concept of welfare state, which has originated from the Western world and is being applied to the third world countries, it is totally a dramatic change in the third world countries. In the Western world or the first world, it has some different connotation. In the third world countries, it has some different connotations because we have limited resources. In spite of that, particularly in the region where we are living, in Punjab, the concept of welfare state is missing up to a large extent. Would you like to elaborate this? Thank you, sir.
That is a political statement, Dr. Saab. उसमें तो देखो, in modern days concept, particularly in Punjab, maybe the lack of may be the factor, और पंजाब की बात करें तो पंजाब का सिनेरियो थोड़ा सा अलग आ जाता है। फॉर हुज वेलफेयर विल बी माय क्वेश्चन, कि किसकी वेलफेयर किया जाए। तो मोस्ट ऑफ पंजाब इज स्टेइंग आउटसाइड पंजाब नाउ। तो एक बात तो ये बात, overall we see this particular welfare state concept which we now know is westernized concept। जो हमने वहां से उठाया, हमने कहा कि चलो ये एक स्टेट का एक मॉडल होगा जो वेलफेयर स्टेट कहलाएगा, इसके अंदर ये कंपोनेंट्स हम डाल देते हैं। बट इन एंशिएंट इंडिया उसमें कोई ज्योग्राफिकल एंटिटी नहीं है, ही इज नॉट डिफाइनिंग दैट एंटिटी। वेलफेयर स्टेट की बात अशोक जब कंटेक्स्ट में करता है, I don't know why it is less in Punjab or why the problems are coming here. That is almost in every state. वो almost similar ही condition रहेगी. To which state I belong, the situation is almost similar. But when we talk about these epigraphic details, उसमें वो himself, that is one inscription I have taken here. Otherwise, we have 2 or 3 more inscriptions of Ashok where he is talking about welfare state, which he says I am practicing this, but I expect that this should be practiced by everybody and every person should be taken into consideration. वो छोटा आदमी है, चाहे वो religious किसी religious sect का है, चाहे वो किसी भी society की किसी भी उसका है, even if it's a small householder or he is belonging to any sect, ब्राह्मण है, श्रमण है, the welfare of that person wherever required. वो ऐसा नहीं कि हर आदमी को खाना राशन देता फिरेगा, but wherever it is required, that should be provided by the state, as well as that should be the responsibility of the individuals as well. वो वेलफेयर स्टेट का डेफिनेशन थोड़ा सा अलग है. ही इज एक्सपेक्टिंग फ्रॉम द पीपल ऑल्सो कि आपको भी ये पार्टिसिपेट करना है, पार्टिसिपेटरी होना चाहिए. डोंट एक्सपेक्ट दैट रूलर विल बी ओनली रनिंग दैट वेलफेयर स्टेट. रादर इट विल बी जो कोलैबोरेशन टाइप का होगा. द रूलर विल बी प्रोवाइडिंग ऑल दिस थिंग्स एंड बट ही आल्सो एक्सपेक्ट फ्रॉम हिज पब्लिक. बोलता है in many inscriptions he says, I expect this, Devanam Priya Priyadarshi expect this from the people that they should behave like. Who talks about the welfare state or welfare of the common people. Other rulers, they do not talk too much about that, but one or two rulers I can remind here. One is Rudra Daman, first in his Junagadh inscription, belonging to 1st century AD, that will be year 72, if I'm not wrong. He is talking about construction, repair of Sudarshan Lake, which was constructed by Chandragupta Maurya in 3rd century BC. He says it is broken now, but my counselors, my ministers, they have disagreed with me that I should repair this lake. But now, because I find it very important for the drinking water, for the water for irrigation of the common people, so I am not levying the taxes without putting any burden on the pocket of common man. I am this lake from my own money. Means, despite of the disagreement of his counselors and ministers, he is saying because this is for the welfare of the people, that's why I am repairing this lake, Sudarshan, for the welfare of people, so that everybody can be benefited. तो जो कंसेप्ट हमारा इसका जाता है, that is slightly different. आज के कंटेक्स्ट में इसको लेके आना डॉक्टर साहब, that will be unfair and unjust. हम उसको उस कंटेक्स्ट में अभी नहीं यहाँ नहीं रख पाएंगे.
ठीक है डॉक्टर साहब, बहुत अच्छा आपने एक्सप्लेन किया. No doubt, bringing from historical ancient point of view as well as from the contemporary viewpoint as well as from the political viewpoint, I think you have taken all the perspectives along when explaining about the concept of welfare state in a very well-mannered way. So, Dr. Saab, we once again thank you for providing such a knowledgeable and insightful lecture to our students as well as our teachers. So I thanks you on behalf of our honorable management, our honorable principal, Dr. Neena Seth Patni, my worthy colleagues. Thanks you, Dr. Saab, thanks you once again. And I hope in future course of time, you will also enrich our knowledge by the means as you have did today. So thanks you from the core of my heart. Dr. Saab, thanks you once again.
Thank you and welcome. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay.